Hello everybody, yeah, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 online battles. And this time, it is some totally serious, totally legit bit of training I was doing with Zach Bain, helping him prep for a recent tabletop-based tournament. Originally, we did run some more serious games, but after that, we decided, let's try something ridiculous. We were discussing compositions, and one of the strats I pitched out was, hey, if you run Sigvald with triple exalted heroes, and then a bunch of aspiring champions, that's a strat, right? To be honest, it's not a strat, but I said he'll come up with a wonderful vampire army to counter me, and so that is what we get here. Nothing to be said. These armies are nowhere near legitimate, tourney viable, or competitive viable, but they are going to be hopefully hilarious. A whole bunch of aspiring champions, 17 units of them in fact, backing 3 exalted heroes. Look at these fancy corn masks in these guys. Just running forward. And Prince Sigvald the Magnificent. With the fact that we ran aspiring champions, we were even able to afford auric armor, giving us that stellar replenishment, really making him an absolute beast. And of course we have standard die to keep our troops in the fight. For my opponent, he is running an incredibly competitive lineup of mass crypt ghouls. Many of these are chevroned up, which really pushes them into that sphere of high stats. Just look at that, especially with the corpse carts in support. Not only are these corpse carts, these are corpse carts with unholy lodestones and 9, count it, 9 chevrons, and that really pushes their melee attack, melee defense up to the max. Makes them really competitive offensively. Allows you to use them like a chariot with a massive charge bonus of 8. They can really get in there, cycle charge my aspiring champions, and do huge amounts of work. Plus, they will be backing up all these crypt ghouls, making them just a little bit better at hitting my aspiring champs. They are backed by the Feasters in the Dusk here, who are stealth, so of course these will come as an absolute surprise to me. No way I can predict them whatsoever by the gap in the line. And then finally, we do have the Gorst Man himself, so the terror, the most terrifying unit you will ever face in this game, coming in, and he's like a normal corpse cart, except he's even better because he does have this more dissension effect, this reliquary corruption. He also has 50% more charge bonus, putting him up to 12, and he's actually got even more weapon strength, 340, so he's going to be an absolute beast to deal with. Over 5,000 HP, totally a threat. And he's got some amazing spells here, including Van Hell's Dance Macabre, Magic Animus, Gaze of Gangash, Invocation of the Heck, the Curse of Undeath, as well as Liber Noctis to give him all those winds of magic. And as you can see, the lines are closing very, very quickly. We're both looking to engage as soon as possible, and it's going to be a very high intensity, high micro engagement for sure, as these brave aspiring champions are closing in, hoping that their Chaos Forged armor can hold against those filthy clubs and bones and whatever these guys are running around with. Are those like bones, just human bones, or are they actually clubs? This is literally running around with like a thigh bone, because these guys have like spikes attached to these, so that counts as kind of a weapon. Sigvald here does manage to disrupt the charge on the Feasters in the Dusk, tying them down, and in come the aspiring champs backed by the exalted heroes, and we're going to try and knock out these Feasters in the Dusk very, very quickly. You can see they're being overwhelmed, just getting destroyed very, very rapidly, but elsewhere things are definitely starting to look grim as the crypt ghouls quickly flank around, because of course our remaining aspiring champions cannot clear through the mass of trash quite that quickly. In the meantime, over here, Helman Gorst pops Magical Animus and hits Prince Sigvald with a incredibly devastating Gaze of Nagash, knocking off about a grand total of 400 or so HP. In the meantime, Sigvald is pursuing this corpse cart with Unholy Lodestone, because I know if I let it cycle charge, I'm going to be doomed, and I have to push it out. And you can see Sigvald there with those devastating cuts, slashing at that Necromancer as he urges the zombies faster and faster. And they do turn around here to engage, and you can see that lone zombie in the front there bravely fighting the scintillating Scion of Slaanesh, but he is striking hard and fast, and an invocation of Knack is needed to keep him in the fray. In the meantime, over here, Helman Gorst is draining away the life of my aspiring champions by engaging them in melee and just beating the snot out of them, and you can see these poor guys are routing. It's just that overwhelming force being too much for them to handle, and Liber Noctis is now providing Helman Gorst with even more winds of magic for his vile shenanigans. Fortunately, the exalted heroes are helping my squads here push through. We've managed to clear through the middle, and now we're sweeping around, looking to clear up these crypt ghouls and get in to support our brethren over here by Helman Gorst, who are just fighting tooth and nail for the Chaos Gods. as Prince Sigvald chases the vile corpse cart, looking to shut it down, because of course this is a massive investment for my opponent. Those 9 chevrons do not come cheap, and with Van Hels's Dance Macabre, it's an incredibly agile unit. With 29 speed, it's very, very difficult to come to grips with. And poor Sigvald is actually getting blocked, and he's not able to get through the Crypt Ghoul mob. It's definitely a tragedy there, as the corpse cart manages to squeak away with its life. In the meantime, over here, unfortunately, Sigvald is not available, so the Unholy Lodestone is able to just keep providing that Vigor Mortis aura, providing these Crypt Ghouls with constant healing, providing them with a constant source of melee attack buffage, and they are slowly but surely able to chip down my Aspiring Champions and tear them down. And these guys are slowly but surely dying. Fortunately, they did manage to wipe out some of the units in front of them, so they're no longer being surrounded, which is very good. Now that they've cleared out what was in front of them, they can clear out what was behind them. You can just see these guys absolutely glorious, hacking and slashing, covered in blood, the blood of their comrades, the blood of their foes. These filthy Crypt Ghouls are just absolutely measly little gits, not able to stand up to the full strength of the Chaos Gods in human form. Unfortunately, some of these Aspiring Champions are going down, though, as you can see, they immediately rise up, because they're not letting the thing like a little scratch from a bone club take them down. In the meantime, this Exalted Hero is taking a nap over here, kind of just watching and encouraging the Aspiring Champions to fight a little harder. This Aspiring Champion is taking the Q and napping as well, even when he probably should be helping out in the main fight. But, you know, sometimes you just need a breather, and that is what they're doing over there. Unfortunately, some of these Aspiring Champions are breaking under the pressure. It's simply too much. They're just exhausted. They need a breather. They've been swinging their arms around for a little too long. They need to shake themselves out. And you can see Sigvald here is going for the assassination, trying to put down Gorst, but unfortunately there's just so many ghouls in his path. My Exalted Heroes are also pathing hard and fast, trying to get in on the Gorst Lord and put him into the ground. And it's definitely a tough situation trying to get in on him, because there's so many zombies. Sigvald surrounded by this filth. Just imagine how messy his armor is going to get. It's going to take forever to clean that off. The Auric armor is going to be absolutely gore covered, though it looks like Sigvald's actually staying pretty clean there. Perhaps those Chaos Gods also provide him with some Clorox bleach to keep him beautiful and clean. Regardless, Gorst is being pressured out, which is critical, of course, because now he will not be able to continue cycle charging my mob of men here. And the corpse cart is gone. We actually managed to kill it. You can see the remains of it lying over here in a mound, and now there's just Crypt Ghouls fighting over top of it. In the meantime, of course, Prince Siggy trying to pursue Helman Gorst and put him in the ground, as our rallying Aspiring Champions do come back into the fray, looking to re-engage, not wanting to let their lord down. And of course, here in the pits, the Exalted Hero is now leading the Aspiring Champions onto glory against the undead, and they're just devastating these Crypt Ghouls, even with the help of that 9 chevron Unholy Lodestone. It's just not enough to keep these troops in the fight. At this point, most of these Crypt Ghouls have been routed. Fortunately, some of these Aspiring Champions managing to squeak away even when they were routed. It's definitely good for them. They'll be able to redeem themselves in a later fight for their cowardice. Unfortunately, you can see one of our Aspiring Champions does fall there, his shield toppling to the ground. There are definitely some losses for the good guys, but what can you do? Sacrifices must be made, and at least if they can ensure victory, that is something. Balance of power is starting to swing in our favor, which is very important, of course, because otherwise, you never know. If the balance of power was going the wrong way, leadership could start cracking, and our units could start buckling, and that would be very, very unfortunate. That said, these Crypt Ghouls are getting slowly but surely chopped down, and now it is simply up to killing the corpse cart with the Unholy Lodestone. Of course, it is too slow to flee. Despite his incredible cycle charging potential, it just isn't that mobile of a unit. And very surprising. You wouldn't expect four zombies to be so slow, but especially when they're being whipped by a Necromancer, you'd think they'd move hella fast. But probably these rotting corpses are just a bit too heavy. In the meantime, this flank is now cleared up, and that allows Prince Sigvald and his goon squad to now shift flanks. You can see they are sort of just reordering themselves here, but now they all pivot on heel and start charging the other way. You can see just long, powerful strides led by Sigvald, who's rushing towards the forefront. He's a true leader of men, never letting his followers down, always willing to take the lead, and you can see he's just pressing forward, trying to get in front of his Aspiring Champions there so that he can show them how it's done. And of course, to mitigate the losses among his men, because that is a huge concern for a good leader like Sigvald. In the meantime, the Exalted Heroes have already started making their way here. You can't see some of them taking a beating in the fight against the Crypt Ghouls, though they're nowhere near dying. They are coming in with these elegant axes, looking to cut down the remaining filth. Helmengorst has in fact escaped. He's still running away. He's managed to squeak through to the back line here as we start crushing all these Crypt Ghouls. Of course, we could surround them in a cowardly manner like what they did to us earlier, but that would be dishonorable, and we are warriors of chaos. And if chaos means one thing, it's honorable combat. And so we're closing the gap here, getting in on these Crypt Ghouls, and fighting them in the pits, man to man, in a 1v1 engagement. In the meantime, you can see the corpse cart here slowly but surely being pushed back. Helmengorst trying to rally his men, trying to keep these filthy Crypt Ghouls in the fight, but nothing can overcome the beauty of Prince Sigvald as the corpse cart here does crumble to the ground. And now it is simply Helmengorst disintegrating. He pops Liber Noctis, trying to get that extra winds of magic to do absolutely nothing, and he does disintegrate to the ground there, granting a Pyrrhic victory to the Force of Chaos. So that absolutely serious game proved that Aspiring Champions are a lot better than Crypt Ghouls. And that's about it. In all seriousness, we did have quite a few good sort of practice runs, as Zach would be saying here. I was simply trying to help him out. He asked me if I wanted to help him out with prepare for a tournament. So we did run some actual tests, but I didn't want to run those just because I don't want to be sharing any builds or that he might necessarily want to be using for a tournament, at least not ahead of time. But that said, I thought this was pretty funny. A whole bunch of Aspiring Champions, a whole bunch of Exalted Heroes, just some chaos on Vampire Count's ridiculousness, both very cheap armies, just trying to go as wide as possible. Incidentally, apparently this army is almost possible in Quick Match. From what I think I was reading that apparently there's no limit on Exalted Heroes in Quick Match battles, which is pretty humorous. So technically, obviously the 3 Exalted Heroes aren't possible because there's a 2-hero limit, both in tourneys as well as Quick Match. But you can actually run as many Aspiring Champions as you want in Quick Battles. So potentially you could run a build like this, and perhaps that will be an effort for another day. Horde of Aspiring Champions. But definitely the Aspiring Champions did some work. The poor Crypt Ghouls just couldn't get through that melee defense and that armor, even with the help of the Corpse Carts. And of course, Gorst did a huge amount of work. 57 kills on Aspiring Champs, no mean feat. Obviously, he's an absolute beast in melee, as we all know. And what can you do? That said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a bit ridiculous, but I wanted to do something lighthearted and different from the usual serious fare. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you found it entertaining. If you did, usually like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, any criticism, or just any requests for builds, units, whatever that I should put up sometime, be sure to leave them down below. I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, I do appreciate the input. And I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.